On this week's episode, I have the pleasure of interviewing a man who has been so influential in the chiropractic profession to an entire generation of chiropractors. He's published multiple books and audio albums about chiropractic practice and how you can be the best version of you. He has taught, lectured, and coached to thousands of chiropractors. Join me today for an interview with Dr. Danny Drubin. Welcome to another episode of For the Love of Chiropractic. I'm your host, Dr. Robert Freeman. I've been in practice for over 30 years, and I continue to work in $1 million practice that I built, ran, and sold. I've taught, lectured, and coached our profession, and helped so many chiropractors build the practice and the life of their dreams. And now, I want to help you do the same. So here's today's show. I have the pleasure of having on the phone with me today my first coach from years ago, a wonderful friend, Dr. Danny Drubin. Danny, are you there?
I am very much here. How are you today?
I am terrific. It is always so good to chat with you. So for the benefit of our audience, I got to ask you, how long have you been a chiropractor?
Forever. I'm one of the few people probably still walking the earth in this profession that entered chiropractic school, Columbia Institute of Chiropractic, which is now New York Chiropractic College, and without any pre-college, right out of high school. I started in the fall of September of 1964. So the answer to the question is 60 years.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And in that time, as I said in the introduction, I mean, you've written books, you've recorded albums, you have spoken to and motivated thousands upon thousands of chiropractors. I mean, literally an entire generation of chiropractors, I believe, owes a thanks to you. So I've got to ask you some questions. I really want to jump right into it. So I ask all of our guests about their 3 keys of success. And in our pre-chat, you mentioned the consequence is not a coincidence. What do you mean by that?
It means that wherever somebody finds themselves right now, that's precisely where they're supposed to be. It doesn't happen by accident, and sometimes it doesn't even happen by clear intent. We just kind of allow it to happen. And it goes to the heart of, for all of the years that I've been teaching, for all of the people that I've worked with, I've always worked on the concept of creating goals. Because I've always been a goal-driven person, and I've always encouraged people to write some goals, read your goals on a regular basis, do your affirmations, because only growing and dynamic people have the opportunity to build growing and dynamic businesses or practices or lives.
All right, that's fair.
And so it starts to become a matter of how hard I always tell people, work harder on yourself than you do on anything else. And I still believe the most important success book ever written is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read it every year. And people say, well, why would you read the same book every year? Because the book doesn't change, but the person always does. And how we process information has a lot to do with the quality of our lives. So ultimately, it comes down to what I refer to in one of my books. It's called 3D living. Decisions determine your destiny. And if you want to improve the quality of your practice and the quality of your lives so that you wind up in a better place personally and professionally. And it's always in that order. It's never professionally and personally, because you work harder on yourself than you do on anybody or anything else. And that if you want a better life, if you want a better practice, if you want a better relationship, make better decisions. And so the quality of our thoughts determine the quality of our outcomes. And so it has everything to do with the images we create, what I refer to as our IR, our internal representation. People think in pictures. Almost 90% of everything we learn as individuals, we learn by virtue of what we see. We are visual beings. And that the more you can attach images to the desired goals. And I tell people, well, is goaling a good idea? And I used to think it's the best idea. And now I'm not so certain.
Why is
And
that?
because it's because I've seen too many people come close to reaching their goals and never surpassing their goals. And the reason is sometimes, even in great success, and I've been blessed with working with a lot of incredibly successful people, and I've learned from a lot of successful people, sometimes our belief that our success is predestined and predetermined, and that all we have to do is change our mind to change our outcome. And while that's true to a certain extent, very often people just miss their goals because they don't run through the bag, not to the bag. They de-energize on the way. And so that I used to write my goals. I'd always write them in a priority order. I would always read them on a regular basis because that's how the subconscious mind is triggered to create the outcomes that we desire personally and professionally.
Sure.
And that I've learned that when people miss their goals, it starts to become a habit. They goal and they don't reach it. They don't goal and they don't reach it. They goal and they don't reach it. And I've come to observe in people that habits, which are created and formed every 90 days, that if we miss a goal and miss a goal and miss a goal and miss a goal, several things can happen. First thing that can happen is we stop goaling because we don't think goals really matter, or we become frustrated, or we become bored, or we become what I refer to as your SOS, your state of stuck. Goal setting is not a bad idea, but goal achievement is a brilliant idea. So it's not a matter of creating goals. It's a matter of creating tangible and reasonable goals within a predetermined time frame. And what I've taught people along the way, many years ago, maybe you remember, Robert, I created an album called Victory.
Oh, I still have it.
It's a collectible. Put it on eBay. The idea of Victory is, I'm a list maker, always have been. I start every day with a list. I've got 2 lists in front of me right now about things to speak to you about. And what I've learned from list makers, the incredible increase in organizational skills has a lot to do with determined outcomes. And so list makers, when they achieve something on their list, they put a check mark next to it, or they'll cross something off. What I started doing years ago is every time I achieve something on my to-do list, I write the word victory in red ink. And so at the end of a given day, I could look at my task list and see, here's what I see: victory, 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 victory. I never put anything down that I'm not going to do that day, because carrying things over from one day to the next, that habit of procrastination is also detrimental to achieving greatness. The idea that winning is a habit, and unfortunately losing is a habit. So when you're going to create goals with emphasis on the 3 most important things that you want to achieve. Record your victories as we go, because your subconscious mind cannot distinguish or differentiate between a small victory, go to the dry cleaner, pick up the kids, get the car washed, or a gigantic victory, build a chain of multi-million-dollar chiropractic practices.
Sure. It's only different in your mind.
That's it. The mind, it takes 90 days to prime the human mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that think and grow rich thoughts are things should never be reduced to anything less than the most important thing. And in one of our seminars, or one of the events that we taught, we speak about the significant singularity of spectacular thought. Because the human mind is only capable of harboring one standalone singular thought at any given moment in time. And the people that I work with, have worked with, and continue to work with, understand the value. When you control your thoughts, you control your behavior. When you control your behavior, you can control your outcome.
Absolutely. So having said that, and I would love to continue talking about that for another hour, but we would long run out of time. So, how does that relate to your idea of formula for achievement?
Simple. And somehow or another, I came across this by accident. And I tried to create something tangible, easy to understand that anybody can use. And if so desired, reverse engineer. Here's how it works. 3W plus H equals O. So the number 3, the letter W plus the letter H equals O. The first W stands for what do you want in specific time, in specific terms, I'm sorry. The mind works by specificity, and a clear thought is the genius of all creation. So the first W is what you want in specific terms. The second W is when you want it by drop dead certain. Without a high degree of urgency and resourcefulness, nothing ever great gets accomplished. And so no deadline, no finish line. The poor habit of dragging things on forever. Well, if I said to somebody, would you like $1 million practice? And they say yes, and I said, by when? The second W is your timeline. It's when you want it by. Your third W is your why, W-H-Y.
Mm-hmm.
Why you want it? Because passionate and purpose-driven individuals always manage to achieve greatness in every area of their life. So it's 3W, what you want, when you want it by, why you want it, your purpose, the purity of purpose. And I've learned a long time ago, if somebody's purpose is purely money, they never wind up with money. It has everything to do with doing the greater good, increasing your ability to make a difference in the quality of people's lives. I think one of the things that attracted me to chiropractic when I was 17 years old is the idea that you can we don't just give adjustments, we change people's lives. We make a difference. So the 3 W's plus H. Your H is your POA. It's your plan of action. It's how are you going to make those 3 things reality? So the 3 W's, we literally, Robert, we can create in a vacuum. Your skill sets, your determination, your plan of action has everything to do with taking those 3 W's and making them reality, which equals your outcome. So very often I've told people, you can reverse the formula. You can start with your predetermined outcome in mind. Ask yourself, how am I going to make this happen? Then fill in the 3 W's as you go. Either way you work, 3W plus H equals O will get you to a better place personally and professionally. And it's simple in its skill sets because all it requires is a few bullet points to determine what you want, when you want it by, why you want it, why is it important to you, how you're going to make it happen, then you get to enjoy the outcome. And that's been my personal formula for success. It's what I work with my clients on their goals and their aspirations. And that's a simple formula and it works well for everybody.
I love it. It is so straightforward. And you know the why is the giant question mark that it's the gas in the tank that moves it forward.
Well, passion. There was a great guest speaker that used to speak for us by the name of Richard Flint. Here's what I learned from Richard. I learned a lot from Richard. He's a wonderful man, and he taught me that passion and stamina are twins. Mm-hmm. That when we are passionate about somebody or something, we will always find the energy to make that something our reality. And so the more passionate we are, you know, the nerve root of passion is panos. It's pain. Mm-hmm. I've taught people over the years that when it comes to business, life, personal, professional change, you're always in one of 2 places. You're either in the pain of staying the same or the pain of change and growth. And there's very few things that I've created that are original. Almost everybody takes variations of other people's stuff and glues it together and attaches their own concepts or words or stories or metaphors to it. But the idea that in practice, business, and in life, we're always in the pain of stuck or the pain of change and growth. And my philosophy has always been, as long as you're going to be miserable anyway, you might as well be more successful, but you're going to be in the pain.
Makes perfect sense. All right. I love that. So, and then you had also mentioned to me in our little talk before we'd started, you said something about Danny has 6 steps.
Well, the 6 steps that I learned by virtue of getting called up to school when our son Peter was in the 5th grade. And he was in a special GEM, what they used to refer to as a GEM program, gifted education module. And my 6 steps came from the way critical thinking is designed in people, individuals. And the teacher actually asked the parents of the children to solve problems that we couldn't solve, but kids do because they think differently. Mm-hmm. So the 6 steps is based on a taxonomy. A taxonomy, not taxidermy. A taxonomy is the order in which things occur. And here are the 6 steps. And I've always asked people, if you want to grasp this, just think a staircase of 6 steps. Step number 1, knowledge. And while most people go through life believing that the most important thing in success is knowledge, it turns out when it comes to creativity, greatness, knowledge is the lowest level of all achievement. Second step is comprehension. Comprehension is the working ability of using the knowledge that we have attained along the way and putting it into step number 3, application or action. So the first 3 steps are knowledge, comprehension, application or action. And I've actually drilled this down to chiropractic practices by virtue of their volume. And here's what I learned. I don't know if you're aware of this, but chiropractors practice somewhere between 38 and 43 years, regardless of years in practice. And while conventional wisdom isn't always accurate, the reality is, regardless of years in practice, the typical practitioner sees about 116 visits a week.
Yep.
And in this day and age, it's hard to create a great lifestyle on 116 visits a week, regardless of what your fees are.
Yeah.
So critical thinking at its highest level. So practices that are 75 visits a week or less are stuck on the steps of knowledge and comprehension. Practices that I've observed that grow to 200 visits a week, plus or minus, actually understand that the application and the action of internal and external marketing can drive a practice to that level of greatness. And I think you might agree that if every chiropractic practice was seeing 200 visits a week, the profession would be in better shape right now.
The profession would be virtually in double the position it is now.
Indeed. So now we get to steps 4, 5, and 6. Steps 4, 5, and 6 are the highest levels of personal and professional achievement. Step number 4, analysis. The process of analysis is taking a look at everything we do and asking ourselves the following rhetorical: is this the best it can be done? If the answer is yes, you leave it alone. If the answer is no, you go to step number 5, synthesis. Synthesis is creating something new, something dynamic. The reality in the rate of change in the world right now is extraordinary, that things and people that do not change between 5 and 7 years risk becoming obsolete, because the world's moving that rapidly right now. So people need to get in, and I've done some books on change, as you know.
Oh, I know.
The change is not always easy, change is not always fun, but change is inevitable. What doesn't change remains the same. What remains the same becomes obsolete, which takes us to step number 6. And step number 6 is responsibility or evaluation. In practice, business, and in life, we are rewarded based on how much responsibility we willingly accept and the ability to make determination about where value is and where value is not. And if we apply these 6 steps, knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and responsibility or evaluation, that gives people a roadmap to greatness.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. So, all right. So, Danny, unfortunately, our time is running short. I've got to ask you, if somebody has heard this information and thinks, "Oh my God, I need to hear more from this guy," obviously they could go on, I assume, Amazon and purchase any of your books. But if somebody wanted to get in touch with you personally, how could they do that?
Call me. Call me. Just call me. 520-203-1053. 520-203-1053. It's in Eastern time, even though it's a Western phone number, because I move around because it's harder to hit a moving target. And I would love to hear from anybody that would like a little bit more information or a little bit more support. I'm very much like you after all of these years. I want to see a more successful chiropractic profession. And for that to occur, we need more successful chiropractors.
Amen. Dr. Danny Drubin, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. This has been absolutely fantastic.
This is the most fun I've had with my clothes on in a long time.
Danny, thank you so much.
Rob, have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And that's our show for today. If you have a question about today's show or your own practice, feel free to reach out at theloveofchiropractic.com. Before making changes to your practice, be sure to seek legal advice regarding those changes and regulations in your state. For the Love of Chiropractic is an RGF production, all rights reserved. And thanks for listening. Original music provided by Hunter Rich Music.